Moravia is Israel, obviously, and they're cartoonishly evil in the film, right? So no one who supports Israel can look at it and go, well, Moravia is supposed to be Israel, because they then would have to admit that what they are doing in real life is cartoonishly evil.
I mean, fair enough, I did go a little hard, I did that, I wasn't even subtle about it, but here it is, my words, a film where a fascist key ally to the U.S., run by an imperialist racist tyrant, funded by the U.S. military-industrial complex and a billionaire tech bro, so they can colonize land that isn't theirs. It isn't even subtle about it, and it's the biggest debut in Superman history. Now, this may shock you not, but the comments in replies to this are all just like, oh, fucking, you lefties, of course you think this is about Israel. It's not, this is a reach. He wrote the script before October 7, 2023. Excuse me, but actually, it's about Russia and Ukraine, you know, all this kind of shit. All over the map. And I didn't actually mention Israel-Palestine, but I did want to see where people's brains go if I simply described the plot of the film. And I put it out there. And then I just left it overnight, came back to it, and surprise, surprise, a lot of the people reading this were like, oh, it's supposed to be about Israel and Palestine. But this is just a description of the plot of the movie. And so if that is something that you read and then you associate directly with what Israel is doing, I mean, I suppose that would be on you. Tara Worldwide says, I am a man boiling with rage. Yesterday, I went with my son to watch the new Superman movie, Superman, the Ultimate Superhero, a character created by two Jewish immigrants, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. In the 1930s, the character is supposed to represent hope, justice, and light. The actor playing Superman, Jewish. The studios, owned by Jews. Even the character of Superman himself, symbolically and historically, is considered to have Jewish roots. A refugee sent from crisis and war to save a better world, created to empower the Jews who returned from the Holocaust. And what did the pathetic progressives in Hollywood do? They trampled all over this. Instead of presenting a character who defends the weak and fights for justice, they turned it into a disgusting political caricature, where Israel, under a different name, is portrayed as a fascist state, a warmonger, and a close ally of the U.S., which supplies advanced weaponry to fight the poor and miserable farmers, the good Palestinians, with pitchforks and stones, and Superman, he comes to save them from bloodthirsty Israel. This is literally a film of incitement against us. I sat there, next to my son, watching how the film had one purpose: to brainwash the world. They took the ultimate childhood hero, who was supposed to represent absolute good, and turned him into a one-sided, distorted, superficial propaganda tool. They ruined my childhood. They ruined the experience for me. But not only for me, they ruined it for the next generation. Because my son, with his innocent eyes, asks me, Dad, why is Superman against Israel? Isn't he Jewish? So let's talk about hypocrisy. About how the progressive Jewish studio owners who hate Israel hide behind this movie, sitting in their luxurious homes in California, feeling safe in their ivory towers. Aside from having a bar mitzvah and their dog, they have no connection to Judaism and choose to disconnect from the homeland that was founded on the ruins of the people who behaved like them in Europe in the 1930s. It will come back to them like a boomerang. No matter how much they decorate their houses for Christmas, they will pay the price, because history always repeats itself. They are turning Israelis into the bad guys, the Palestinians into the good guys, and missiles and terrorism into the struggle of freedom fighters. This is their coffin nail, as they align with the politically correct studios of Walt Disney. So yes, I am offended. I am angry. I am disgusted. They are cowards. And I will tell you here clearly, the liberal Jews in America are the main contributors to anti-Semitism in the U.S. They, and the push for progressivism in America, the takeover of communication and financial power, and the use of tools to brainwash our children in order to spread your distorted nonsense. Take your hands off of Superman, because those who believe in goodness, justice, family, and identity are we. You, your God, is money. Nothing more. You're nothing but zeros. There is no greater enemy to an Israeli than a progressive American Jew. That's it. I vented. The end. Wow. And there's so many things I could say right now in response to this, right? But I think that the one Will Neff said it better than I ever could. I'll be honest with you. You have to hear the words of Will Neff on this topic.
But the most brilliant thing that Gunn did was Moravia is Israel, obviously, and they're cartoonishly evil in the film.
Hold on, I'm gonna get the
that Gunn did was Moravia is Israel, obviously, and they're cartoonishly evil in the film, right? So no one who supports Israel can look at it and go, well, Moravia is supposed to be Israel, because they then would have to admit that what they are doing in real life is cartoonishly evil. It's such a brilliant, like, oh, Moravia made you think of Israel? What about it? What about what they were doing? No, tell. No, tell. No, go ahead, tell me. The supervillain stuff? Is that what reminded you of them? Interesting. It's just comic book stuff, man.
It's just comic books. I just want to give a shout out both to Will Neff for honestly having the best possible take on this topic and just saying exactly what I think a lot of people were thinking. And if you hadn't just connected the dots up until this point, suddenly being like, oh my God, true. Fucking hell. Yeah, why are so many people immediately when you describe it, if you describe the plot of the movie, being like, how dare you say that about Israel? And you're like, well, I was actually describing the plot of the Superman movie that just came out, and yeah, but the fact that you would make those connections is interesting. Well, here we are, and it's what a time to be alive. Also, by the way, Will's partner, Caroline, has been so incredible on this issue for so long, and has honestly been just a breath of fresh air for mainstream Twitch streamers, because like Will Neff and Caroline, as well as obviously Hassan Abi, these are some of the biggest streamers on the platform. These people have massive audiences, and the fact that they're able to both entertain their audiences and educate them on these kind of topics is a thing of absolute beauty to witness. Like, yes, the world is changing, not quickly enough, and obviously it's happening while there's immense war crimes taking place all the time by the Israeli government. I also just wanted to quickly address the anti-Semitism, or the accusations of anti-Semitism, because we're hearing that anti-Semitism comes, again, from both the right and the left, and I'm not ever going to argue that racism in all its forms comes from people from all different political ideologies, and, there's a lot of people who will not be able, in a lot of cases, to always recognize their own biases, or always recognize when they themselves are actually overstepping in a way. I've done it tons of times, even though I'm like, well, I actually care about racism, I want to fight it, and then you're like, no, Lance, but you were doing a racism, and you're like, wait, what? I was? Shit, I'm sorry. I'll do better. That's all you can ask for. But a new study is casting doubt on the idea held by some, but not most, American Jews that anti-Semitism is just as prevalent on the far left as it is on the far right. Though far more American Jews consider the far right as a greater anti-Semitic threat, some academic and Jewish leaders have embraced horseshoe theory, the idea that the opposite ends of an ideological spectrum are similar, and applied it to anti-Semitism. Though the Anti-Defamation League, for example, has identified the far right as more threatening to American Jews, its leader, Jonathan Greenblatt, has compared far-left critics of Israel as the photo inverse of the extreme right. While anti-Semitism on the right tends to focus on conspiracy theories about Jews being disloyal to white people or rejecting conservative values, on the left it's often tied to blaming Jews for the actions and the undertakings of Israel. A paper published by June by the journal Political Research Quarterly found that anti-Jewish beliefs are far more popular in right-wing circles, particularly amongst young people. The results show there's a problem on the young right, said the study author, Eaton Hirsch, and an associate professor of political science at Tufts University. It's very interesting, and I think concerning, that we have this rare form of prejudice that is more common amongst young people and old people. It's kind of shocking because if you look at the other forms of prejudice, like racism, sexism, anti-gay attitudes, they're just way higher amongst older people than younger people. For the study, a survey was sent to 3,500 American adults, 2,500 of them between the ages of 18 and 30. Respondents were asked to reply to a series of questions, such as whether they believe that Jews are more loyal to Israel than the U.S., if it's appropriate to boycott Jewish-owned businesses to protect Israeli policies, and whether Jews have too much power. They were then asked to question the test for a double standard. For instance, one question when asked whether or not Jews want to participate in activism must first denounce Israeli actions against Palestinians, and then a question similar was posed about Muslims denouncing a Muslim country's actions. Hirsch said he was surprised by the results. Those on the left were less likely than even political moderates to believe Jews were more loyal to Israel. They were also less likely than moderates to think Jews have too much power or that boycotting Jewish businesses to protect Israel was acceptable. Young adults who held the most conservative views were almost 5 times more likely to say that it was acceptable to boycott Jewish businesses than those on the farthest left, and almost 10 times more likely to say that Jews had too much power. And while those who held these views of Jews also held the most extreme right-wing views, Hirsch cautioned that this was not some tiny minority, but rather a portion of the population that is pretty significant and is being radicalized by an online discourse that has little use for political correctness or tolerance. He noted that anti-Semitic attitudes in young people were prevalent in those who identify as Catholic, which could be a reflection of the growing trad-Cath or traditional Catholic movement, which openly condemns liberal reforms adopted by the Catholic Church and contains splinter groups that are often anti-Semitic. These are the young people praised in a generation conditioned by social media to essentially say things that are going to get attention. The older generation of conservatives is more dominated by evangelicals, and the evangelical community has a much stronger relationship with Israel. Some groups have often lumped leftist demographics, such as blacks and Hispanics, also having a tendency to hold more anti-Semitic views, but Hirsch said those groups actually tend to be split politically. The finding is that if you are black or Hispanic and you identify as conservative, that is the population that has the highest by far rate of agreement with the anti-Semitic statements. But if you are black or Hispanic and you are on the left, it's much higher than white people on the left, but it's still lower relative to the right. Exactly as leftists have been telling you. Because leftists care about racism, or at least some of them, you know, there's going to be scumfucks who pretend or whatever, but on the surface, you'll usually have people talk about things like anti-Semitism, forms of discrimination, racism, bigotry towards different groups, LGBTQ+. You'll usually hear a lot of them mentioned, right? It's not just like, there's only one form of discrimination I care about, and that happens to be anti-Semitism. The worst of the worst. Nothing else matters. You won't hear that kind of thing. But leftists who do genuinely care about this, care about all of them. That is international struggle, right? We're not free until we all are. That kind of stuff. It includes class struggle, where it's the rich versus the poor, and that often takes place on large scales involving all of these demographics. There can be poor black people, poor white people, poor Hispanic people, poor indigenous people, and then there can be rich people in those categories as well, right? So those same leftists, for the most part, the data shows in this study that was done on this, that in those groups on the left, yeah, they're not going to be as likely as people on the right, who are now 5 times apparently more likely than people on the left to espouse anti-Semitic views or to associate directly all Jewish people with Israel, or to associate the actions of the Israeli government with all Jewish people. And taking that even a step further, why in the world should you not go to a delicious Jewish bakery if there's no political reason for you not to? Like, if I can understand if that bakery was fundraising for the IDF or was fundraising for an Israeli cause, that's totally different. But just as, like, a Christian church could be doing that, a Christian church could be fundraising money, an evangelical church could be fundraising money to send people to go volunteer for the IDF. That's just as possible. But if they happen to be like not at all supporting Israel or the IDF, I'm guaranteeing you, if you live in a major city, you will find so many delicious and incredible Jewish bakeries that have some of the best bagels, some of the best challah bread, like, you know, Montreal smoked meat over here in Canada. Like, it's all fucking amazing. Jewish food is amazing. Muslim food is amazing. All these foods are fucking amazing, and a lot of them are anti-Zionists. You'll see Palestinian flags on the side, or you'll see the amount of money they've been donating, or the amount of time they've been volunteering. This myth that is just simply, this is Muslims versus Jews. That's what the world is breaking down into. This is being sold to everybody to try and divide and separate all of us, when we're all looking right now to work together in a common cause for humanity. That's kind of the thing that's uniting everyone, and rapidly right now, as fascists are trying to rip us all from each other's arms, including children, literally ripping them out of the fucking ice, ripping kids out of their mother's arms. The RCMP does that in Canada, by the way. Before Canada's get all, I know, things are so scary with ice. Hey, you should be looking at what the RCMP does to Indigenous communities and bands over here in Canada. It's fucked. They also put them into the foster system, sometimes with due cause, sometimes without due cause. And there's mass fucking problems that come from having kids that are raised in foster children families, especially when sexual abuse is rampant. Don't always do that thing where you're like, everything's bad in America. I can't believe they have ice and they're ripping kids from their mother's arms. They're doing that right now as you speak in Canada to Indigenous kids. So please wake up and do something about that too. But it's all connected. All of it.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to serfscoffee.com to order the only end-to-end owned Indigenous coffee company that delivers blood-free, conflict-free, and cruelty-free beans right to your door. 0% of people who drink serfscoffee.com have exploded spontaneously. By ordering right now, you get 10% off plus free shipping, and it's the best way to enjoy delicious coffee while not exploding. That's serfscoffee.com, serfscoffee.com.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This video wouldn't be at all possible without the financial support of all the people whose names you see on the screen right now. And if you want to unlock secret bonus episodes, content that we can't post anywhere else, or get the videos early before anyone else gets to see them, please go on to patreon.com/theserfs. For as little as $1, you can help support this channel and help make more videos like this possible. Our executive producers are Anna Loves Riley, Adrian McCarthy, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Garrett Sandoval, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Richard Boehm, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Tigwig, Trav, and Words Greenwood. And also, it wouldn't be possible without all the names you see on the screen right now. Again, if you want to help produce this content, it's only made possible through the funding of our patrons. Head on down to patreon.com/theserfs. That's patreon.com